I want to talk about why most companies miss out on 97% of most sales opportunities, regardless of market, industry, or vertical. There's a concept called the buyer pyramid. Now, the buyer pyramid states that at any given time, only 3% of the market is actually ready to purchase your product or service right now, which means the other 97% are not. Out of that 97%, 7% they are ready to buy from you, but for one reason or another, they may still be on the fence. Probably they have certain questions or certain objections that they need to get past in order to make that final purchasing decision. There's another 30% who they have an interest in what you sell, but the desire or they may not see the value enough, or for one reason or another, they may not be ready to buy from you right now. So they don't see it as much of an immediate or urgent need. An additional 30%, they actually have no idea that you actually exist. So to them, they are completely oblivious to your brand, to your product, to your service. They're just going along day to day. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're not your customers, but they haven't yet made a connection to probably a potential problem they have and how your product and service may actually solve that problem for them. And then there's a final 30% that these are just the people who refuse to buy no matter what, probably for one reason or another, probably because they had a negative experience with your brand. Probably they may have different opinions or values than your brand stands for, that for one reason or another they just choose not to buy from you no matter what, no matter how good the deal is, no matter how low your price is compared to the competition, or probably because they are loyal to another brand. So the question now becomes, how do you tap into that 97% and ensure that you're maximizing your sales opportunities? Well, I've come up with an approach to this using content marketing. So let's start with the people who are ready to buy from you right now. You don't really need much content outside of what you already have. I mean, pretty much every company for this particular group or segment is pretty much using sales presentation, sales content to make your pitch. I mean, every single company is already doing that, so I don't need to go into creating content around this specific segment. Now, the second set, the 7% that are undecided, they have a need for your product or service. They want to buy, but for some reason or another, they have questions or objections. What you want to do now is to create content that answers common questions or objections that this set may have, to get them off the fence, or probably help them feel reassured that they're making a good purchasing decision. Now, the other 30% who they have an interest in what you sell, but the desire to buy right now may not be there. Now, you cannot force this group to actually buy from you right now. The best approach is to create content to nurture this particular segment that continues to educate them on how your product or service can solve a problem they have, or educate them on solutions to the particular problem they have using content that has nothing to do with your product or service. The second 30% has a need for your product or service and what you offer, but may not have made a connection between your product and service and the problem they have. What you want to do is create content which brings awareness to this group of the problem that they have that your product or service can solve. Now, you do not want to pitch your product or service to this set. You do not want to try and sell to them at all. What you want to simply do is to create content to educate them, to bring awareness, not to your brand, but to the problem that they have. And the final set, the final 30%, who are the people who refuse to buy from you. Now, the temptation may be there to ignore this group, but what you actually want to do is to create content, or should I say, you want to start off by first empathizing with this group, understanding where they're coming from. Most of the time, it's just because they have differentiating values than you do. They may not see eye to eye with your brand. You do not want to dismiss them or disregard them. What you want to do is to empathize with them, and once you're able to do that, then you want to create content which shows the human side of your brand. You want to create content that connects with them, or probably, they may have some people who have left a negative comment. You don't want to ignore those comments or completely disregard those comments. You want to take those comments and actually create content which turned that negative comment into positive communication back to them. So let me give you an example of this. We were running a promotion once where a lady left a very negative comment on the client's social media page, saying the promotion was a scam and so on. What we did was we took that negative comment and we took the time to educate her on the purpose of the campaign, why our client was doing it. And after that communication with her, that positive back and forth, she now switched from being someone who was completely against the campaign and thought it was a scam to now being an actual paying participant in the campaign, simply because of that positive communication and creating content around that. Now, does it mean that every single person who refuses to buy you can convert them? No. But at the very least, you would have created a positive brand image in their mind. So at the very least, if they do have friends or family or some other associate that they believe has a need for your product or service, then they will refer that person to you.